Hi, welcome to my video. So in this video, I want to talk about loops for INTJs, how INTJs functions can loop differently based on how unhealthy or healthy the INTJ is. So as you can see from the screen, this is the function stack for INTJ, the cognitive function stack for INTJ. So INTJs use NI as dominant function, and TE, extroverted thinking, as a auxiliary, right, function, and then FI, tertiary, and then SE, extroverted sensing, as a inferior function. So as the inferior functions. So this is the when people talk about generally so in this video, for the context of this video, I want to be using loop, the term loop, to just loosely define how different functions interact and how the INTJ can use different functions to stay stuck or to stay productive or to be at their best. So it's not only looping internally. For example, the most popular loop is for INFJs, NITI loop, right? But INTJs can have NIFI loop, NITE loop, which is healthy if you use it in a healthy way, and then FISE loop, which is when you're using the two, least developed functions to, I guess, stay stuck or stay addicted to your emotions, being right, and also being indulgent in the physical activities and physical behaviors that are unhealthy for you. So, right. The main purpose for this video is just to give you some awareness as to, sorry about this, to give you some awareness as to what's, I guess, to gauge your behavior using how your functions are operating, basically how you're using different functions. So the unhealthy loop, I'll start with the unhealthy loop, and then I'll show you how to be healthy in your loops, so that you're looping in a in a better way rather than looping unhealthily. So the unhealthy loops are mostly NIFI, which is INTJs are introverted. That means being introverted means you're using an introverted function as your dominant or preferred function, right? This is there's a lot of misunderstanding around what being an introvert and what being an extrovert means. So for the context of this video and for the context in general, when it comes to defining personality-wise, from the understanding of the cognitive functions, in general, introverted means you're using an introverted function as a dominant function or your preferred function, right? An extrovert means that they are using an extroverted function, whether it's a judging function or whether it's a perceiving function as their dominant functions. For example, ENTJ, ENTP, they both use extroverted functions as the dominant function. So ENTJ uses TE, which is a judging function, as the dominant function. That's why they are an extrovert. And ENTP uses NE as their dominant perceiving functions, a dominant function, but it's a perceiving function, right? Perception function, it's a learning function. So INTJs, INFJs, they use introverted intuition as the dominant functions because the function they prefer is an introverted function. That's why they are classified as introverts. So when INTJs loop, generally they loop internally. So using NI and FI primarily, because it's a very, I guess, so what I do is I just use this to, right. So this is the general, I think how most INTJs loop is using the introverted. This is the introversion, right? So anything that's on the left of the y-axis is introverted, right? NI, introverted intuition, FI, introverted feeling. So they're both introverted functions. So NI is a perception function, perceiving function, and FI is a judging function. So using your feeling as a guide as to know what decisions to make, basically. Um, so the introverted loop, NIFI, is unhealthy because for a human being to be balanced, right, you need to be using both introverted and extroverted functions. So both NI and TE for an INTJ. So NI is the learning function. It's the function to get ideas, generate insights, and then using those insights and ideas and implementing them using extroverted thinking, which is a judging and decision-making function. So making decisions in the real world, deciding what the goals are, what the plans are, what the metrics are to track those goals and plans, and track the execution and the success and the result using TE. But generally when FI is wounded, meaning when introverted feeling function is not as developed or not as aware, or on the awareness, then the INTJ can loop internally using NI, using their insights and ideas, but then using that as a protective mechanism to stay right, because they can't use TE to implement in the outside world because they don't like the feedback, because feedback gives them the feedback that they don't want to hear about themselves, because either generally they're too attached to the ideas, meaning if my ideas are not accepted, that means there's something wrong with me, that I'm not accepted as a human being. I'm worth it as a human being. So there's a lot of self-esteem issues that are tied into, I guess, the development of FI. So there's a lot of healing that INTJs need to do, because I personally have done a lot of healing work on myself, with the people that I coach, because if your FI is not developed to the point where you can be healthy emotionally and psychologically, then your TE is not going to be effective, right? So that's how most INTJs stay stuck looping internally. So this is the internal loop, NIFI. It's an introverted loop, basically, right? And then another type of loop is the backseat loop. So FISE. Generally, SE is extroverted sensing, but it's in an inferior position for INTJs and INFJs as well. So for the INJs, meaning using introverted intuition as a dominant function, extroverted sensing as the inferior function, because it's quite in the under the consciousness, in the unconscious, and we're not aware of how to, I think, healthily use the extroverted sensing function in a healthy way by becoming aware of our body, exercising, staying healthy, eating nutritious food, and things like that, to engage our bodily needs in a healthy way. Then we can only go there in an indulgent fashion. So when an introverted function, when the extroverted sensing function is in the inferior position, there can be a lot of indulgence and the all or nothing type of, I guess, indulgent in things that make us feel good in sensorial ways. So indulging in food because of the taste, texture, right, things like that. Food, alcohol, drugs, substances, sex, pornography, things that will help us tune out from the unhealthy or painful feelings that we don't want to feel. So that's where FI comes in, right? So you can have a lot of pride and a lot of, generally it's based on shame and guilt from the traumas that we've been through as INTJs, right? This is generally true for most people, but for INTJs, it's more prominent and pronounced because the FI is in the 10-year-old position, according to personality hackers car model. So if you want to use the car model, check out the links below. There should be resources for you to go check out. INTJ profile, some resources from personality hacker in terms of to help you get more information on the topic, right? I'll keep making more videos on this, but I want to help you get as many accurate and accurate resources as you can to learn more about yourself as an INTJ. So, and there should be also a Facebook group link for you to join, because I'm want to start an INTJ group that is focused for INTJs who want to focus on developing and continue to grow. Basically, turning your insights into impact, to help you turn your insights. As INTJs, we have a lot of insights because we drive with NI. But then if you struggle with FI, your feelings, don't know how to express yourself, don't know what your feelings are, and haven't done a lot of healing work to really make your FI healthy, then you have a lot of challenges implementing your ideas using extroverted thinking, and can be indulgent and addictive to different things using SE in a healthy way. So, which is why I'm making this video. So, right, we're talking about FISE loop, the backseat loop, or the backseat, according to the car model that President Hacker uses. It's a very effective way of looking at the cognitive functions, and how the type dynamics between the functional dynamics between how different functions interact and how different functions show up in different positions on the stack. So FISE has developed into, for most INTJs, will be developed into at the age of a 10-year-old, right? And then SE, the extrovert sensing function, is probably at the age of around 3-year-old in terms of development and awareness that it has. So why this is important to know is because now that you know this, that you become more aware of how you go into different addictive behaviors, or how you, I think, protect yourself emotionally, to guard yourself, which is why INTJs generally have the appearance of cold and harsh, very blunt, because they use the thinking function as a protective mechanism to protect their 10-year-old or the childish or childlike FI, which can be very sensitive, right? So, and once you develop FI and start to do a lot of healing works around your emotions and your past traumas, then you can start to open up and become more vulnerable, become more authentic, become more of who you really are, to really, I guess, give your gifts of insights and implementing your ideas, and developing yourself into, fully actualizing yourself, basically. So FISE generally is, can be very, can blindside the INTJs. SE in addictive, unhealthy ways regarding, sensory pleasure, and FI can be indulgent in emotional, emotional, like the story that we tell ourselves to keep ourselves emotionally stuck, and repeatedly wanting to experience one emotion. So FISE in an unhealthy way can be a blind spot, and as well as can be very detrimental to the growth and the effectiveness of an INTJ, which is why I'm making the time to really highlight this. And then how to, I think the main point, the really important point to note is, to really be healthy as an INTJ, you need to start with the inferior function by engaging yourself in a very healthy, engaging your body in a very healthy way to ground yourself, because as NI dominants, we generally are not aware of our body, not aware of our surroundings. So it's important to have like a regular regimented routine, routinized exercise that you do to get yourself grounded, whether it be yoga, whether it be weightlifting, whether it be cardio, every day, to engage your body so that you stay healthy physically. And because your physical we all live in our physical body, right? So your physical body, the health of your physical body will affect your, emotional body. Basically, mind-body connection, mind, emotional body connection, all of them are interlinked and work together. So if you work SE in a healthy way, it should also give you, I think, the bandwidth to handle emotional I would say, handle your emotional uh, charges more effectively. So you feel stronger, you feel more effective in the way that you feel about yourself as an INTJ, because INTJs drive with NI and SE as inferior in the backseat. We generally tend to have a lot of fears around physicality or being physical. So it's something to really think about and start to engage your body in a healthy way. So FI, SE, so the way to work the FI in a healthy way or engage FI in a healthy way is to become aware of your own emotions, and express yourself emotionally in a safe space and a safe environment. Um, you know, emotional healing work can be very effective. That's what is, I think, helped me the most in terms of becoming more vulnerable, becoming okay with who I really am, self-acceptance, knowing what my values are, knowing what's important for me, knowing what my, uncompromisable, or what my non-negotiables are when it comes to my beliefs and my values and what I believe about myself and my convictions. Making sense of my past and my story and fully accepting myself. Basically, it's all about self-leadership, knowing what your vision is in terms of NI, for your life, your vision for your life, your purpose, and then knowing what value you have to give as a human being, and knowing what your convictions are. What are you against? What are you for? What are you about? So it's all about self-awareness, and self-knowledge will go a lot into you developing FI and making FI stronger, so that when you implement your ideas using extroverted thinking, you won't feel as much of a hit when you get the feedback that you don't like, right? Because it's all about, if you don't take action in the outer world, all your ideas are going to stay ideas, and you will not have an impact that you want to have as an INTJ, or even as a human being on the world. So, which is why this is what I'm really passionate about, is helping human beings, or empowering people understand themselves, and using the self-knowledge to grow themselves, to develop themselves to the level where they can fully actualize their self-expression, plus making their ideas real, so that they have an impact on the world, right? So as INTJs, we have a lot of great ideas, right? You know that as an INTJ. But when you feel like you can't share your ideas because you don't like the feedback that you're going to get, then that's where I think the world loses out on the benefit that you can add to the humanity, basically. So, all right, so continuing on the loop. So TE is the extroverted thinking. SE. I guess TE-SE loop can be when you're driven on adrenaline, when you're in a crisis mode. TE-SE can become a loop. So it's all about implementing and getting shit done. And you are operating on cortisol, which is from stress, and adrenaline from, the fight or flight mode, being in the fight or flight mode. So when you're in a crisis situation, TE-SE can become a loop in that way. But I think it's very rare that that's the case for INTJs, because we're aware of our that's where burnout can happen, right? So TESE can, which TESE both are extroverted functions. So it's all about being present in the outer world, where it takes a lot for INTJs to do that, because they're both extroverted functions. We need to spend a lot of time by ourselves, engaging in NI, using our dominant function to recharge. So I guess it rarely happens, but it happens sometimes. So when that happens, I want you to be aware of that, because otherwise that causes burnout and it's going to affect your health. So the most healthy loop, which is the goal for all INTJs, is to get to NITE loop, which is about your ideas, your insights, and then using your ideas and insight and implementing using extroverted thinking, right? And I generate insights, and then extroverted thinking is about implementing those ideas, and then you get feedback and you learn the feedbacks, taking the feedback, and then you continue to improve. But it doesn't affect, the feedback doesn't affect your self-esteem, your beliefs, your conviction, right? It drives your conviction. It makes you feel stronger about yourself, about your beliefs, about what's right for the world, for you, for your family, for your loved ones, for the projects that you want to accomplish, for the goals that you want to accomplish. So I think a healthy loop will be an ITE loop in a healthy way, right? So I just wanted to read this. Yeah, so NIT is a healthy loop. So that's the goal for most INTJs, is to get to the point where there is a very little time between, there's a phase where you go NITE and practice doing that phase, which is the phase that I'm in right now, is using my insights, my ideas, and sharing them, just creating videos, right? It's very uncomfortable for me if I haven't really put a lot of thoughts into my videos and what I want to say, but I can get stuck in that phase for a long time. So what I need to be able to do is, because right now, I have very healthy FI, my relationship, my own emotions, my self-esteem, because I now I'm fully owning myself in terms of my beliefs, my values, and I don't really care about what people think of me anymore, in terms of whether my ideas are right or wrong, because I think as NTs, there's a lot of, I guess, the need to be right, the need to be confident, the need to be viewed as an expert and know what we're talking about. But there can only be, so much that you can learn to master, where, it will become self-indulgent in a way, if you don't share your ideas and get your feedback from the outer world and make it beneficial for people, because that's the main reason that we're learning, is so that we can create value for people. We can add value to people. So that's level 3. If you watch my video on the 6 phases, right, that's phase 3 is about owning yourself, knowing what your values are, and using TE to implement your NI ideas. So that's what's the most important for an INTJ, is this is the growth function, right? So FIT is the judging axis, and TE is the growth function for INTJs. The auxiliary function is growth function for any type, right? Because your dominant is your unconscious competent function. So you're already good there. Doesn't mean that you use it in a healthy or a developed way, right? There's always something you can learn about NI. So according to Dario Nari, there are like 4 stages of how to develop each function depending on the position. So NI, there's like the 4 stages, or I can't remember the details, but you should aim to get to level 3 and 4, right? And then TE is about conscious. So NI is the aptitude, is what we already have the talent for, but TE is what we have the ability for. So the co-pilot position, the auxiliary position on the stack, is what we already have the ability, the basic wiring, but there's a lot that we can learn to improve, to practice, to get better, to get to a point where we are consciously competent, or unconsciously competent about certain skills, so that we don't have to think about them. We can be more effective that way. So NIT is a healthy loop. That's where the goal is. So if you are not implementing your ideas, getting feedback, then it's not a good sign for an INTJ to continue to stay stuck, keep wanting to keep learning more, right? Even, if you're an INTJ and 5 on the Enneagram, I'm a 5 SP. So it makes it, I guess, more challenging for me to take action, because I want to continue to keep learning and protect myself from, any judgment, any feedback from the world that's going to hurt me emotionally. So I hope this has been useful. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below, or connect with me on Facebook in the group. There should be a join link underneath the video in the description. And I'd love to meet you and see, how we can work together in terms of the value that I can add to your life, to you, in terms of sharing what I know, and want to learn from you and learn with you. So connect with me, and I'll love to continue to make these kind of videos if they're useful for you. So I'll appreciate any feedback. Yeah, so I'll see you in the next video. That's it. Enjoy.